Have you ever dreamed of starting a referral business or building a referral business in your real estate career? Well, Kortney Wilson is with us today. She's with eXp Realty, and you may know her for some of her HTV TV shows like Masters of Flip, Making It Home with Kortney and Dave, and then Making It Home with Kortney and Kenny. So today she joins us for a super powered session on building a referral network, and some great strategies for social media are thrown in there as well. So enjoy the podcast. Kortney, thank you so much for joining the Real Trending podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I want to start and talk a little bit about your journey into real estate. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and about your business?
Yeah, sure. So, well, first of all, my name is Kortney Wilson. I was born in Canada, where I actually am right now filming a TV show. But I moved to Nashville at 18 years old to pursue a record deal. And it was really all about music. Real estate was not a part of my journey until much later in life. But I ended up signing within a few days of moving to Nashville. $300 in my pocket and a dream. And I ended up signing a production deal with Reba McEntire, which led, and her producers, which led to a record deal with Disney's country label. So I was super excited to get started in that, but I always say that was the beginning of the end of my career in music. I did lots of really incredible things for a few years, but one of the really great things that I did is when I got my record advance, my real estate or my entertainment lawyer said, go buy a house. And I was like 20 years old. And I was like, oh, a house? He's like, yeah, go take some of that money so you don't end up doing something stupid like buying a boat or, a car. Yeah. So that was my first foray into real estate, really, was at 20 years old. I bought my first condo, and a couple of years later bought my first house. And that house flooded because I lost my record deal and I was eating beans and rice, as they say. And I went home to Canada for Christmas for the holidays, and we had listed our house, and the realtor came in, and because we had turned down the heat, and every once in a while we have a freeze in Nashville and the house flooded. From a broken pipe, and they walked into like 2 or 3 feet of water. So anyway, I took the insurance money and I started renovating it myself, and with my then husband. And the realtor came in and said, "You have a knack for, like flipping houses and design." I was like, "Well, that's not my background. I'm going to be a singer." And she was like, "Well, if you decide while you're singing to like flip a house, I'd love to like represent you." So I flipped my first house, and it wasn't until like 10 years later. So I guess it was 2015 that I got my real estate license, really to represent myself in some of these transactions.
That's great. And so you also kind of got some national recognition from HGTV. So how has that kind of shaped your real estate practice?
It's interesting. It for sure has shaped it a little bit, but real estate, HGTV is sort of on a national or international scale. My show came about it organically because I really was flipping houses. They really love people who are being authentic in what they're doing. They don't pluck people out and say, "Oh, you have a great look. Let's have you flip houses." So my husband and I were actually flipping houses at the time, and I wrote a treatment for a TV show, and it ended up getting picked up. But it wasn't until I was coming out of the first show of Masters of Flip. Let me actually back up. Real estate was actually easier and tends to be easier for me without TV.
Okay.
Based purely on time. I feel like often I'm convincing people that I do real estate full time because I have a team. But when they're watching me behind the scenes on some of my social media channels, they're like, "Wait, you're in Toronto filming a show," as I am right now, or you're like on set right now shooting a commercial, which is also real. But I have somehow managed to have teams in all different aspects of my life, curating the things that need to happen for those businesses. And it's made me stronger, and it's for sure made me a better realtor. But sometimes it's an uphill battle for me to convince people of that.
And so you scaled a team. Let's talk a little bit about that. How many people do you have on your real estate team?
I only have 3. So like it's a very small team. I've gone up to 5 at different places, parts of my life, and I'm not opposed to having more. But for my local team, I keep it fairly small and tight, and I'm very, very, very involved in every transaction. Now, on the international level, I work with realtors all over to refer people. So anybody who watches the show anywhere can say, I want to buy or sell. And I'll say, I'll help you find a realtor. Right? Because we as real estate agents know that the consumer or the client doesn't have to pay me necessarily, right? So I can shoot a referral over to somebody in California or, Calgary, Alberta. And what I do for them is I offer them, because they see me in some of those areas where real estate isn't the number one platform. When they think of me as a designer or a furniture, I have a line called Court & Co, and it's all furnishings and home goods. So they see me as a designer. So what I do is I say, listen, I'm a realtor. I'm going to find you the very best of the best, somebody who I would want to represent me in that area. By the way, it shouldn't be me. You need a local expert, and I'll give you a free design consult to get your house ready so we can maximize your investment.
Oh, I love that. That's great. So would you say that you are mainly referral business at this point? Is that is that the big part of your business, or
it's definitely So the referral business is something that is actually fairly new in the last, say, year and a half, but it's something that I'm very much focusing on, as part of my future, because I just joined eXp, and that was one of the reasons that I joined eXp, was because they have such an internationally recognized brand where I can literally, pull an agent from, somewhere in Africa, the next day in Canada and the next day in Australia. So I've got a really good, base within this company to find people. And I didn't when I was previously with Compass. Like Compass, when I joined them, I literally was told that they were going to be in Canada, and they haven't yet. That was 4 years ago. So I was struggling to roll out the referral business because I didn't have that.
Okay.
So but my local team, we closed 2 deals last week, and I was on set while we did it, and nobody knew the wiser, because of social media and because of technology. That's such a great thing now.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people who maybe don't have the presence that you do on social media and TV and that, referral business can be pretty lucrative, a part of your business. So what kind of strategies do you have for them making contacts? It sounds like the network through eXp is one great way. So talk to me a little bit about offering some strategies for those realtors.
Yeah, I always say when you find somebody that's doing it better than you, and you're sort of copying their practices, that's the best form of flattery, right? There's no room for jealousy or any of that in this day and age. Like, there's room for all of us. But I'll give you an example. I'm always looking to better my practices. And recently I was looking at buying a property in Portugal. And somebody had sent me via Instagram this guy that was, representing agents. He was an American agent that had moved to Portugal years ago and had basically a big referral business. That's all he does. I didn't realize it at the time. I thought I was hiring him, but in the same way that somebody would potentially reach out to me, it was his same practice. So I set up a thing. He was for sure using AI and automation way better than I am. And so I went through a system. I had a 30-minute consult with him. My husband and I did via Zoom. And then he passed me off to an agent who he thought would be great for me based on what we were looking for. And I got off the phone and I thought, damn, he has got this going on. I am going to steady him. the way that I would steady somebody in school or steady a professor that I love, because he's doing it. And there's room for all of us. So I've actually started to introduce some of his practices through automation, like ManyChat. Instead of giving away all of the information on social media, I'm posting like, hey, this is what you can get in Nashville. This is a house. If you're interested, comment Nashville, and everything gets automated through the process from that point forward. I used to be annoyed by it, but guess what? It works.
That's really interesting. So explain that to me more. So if you say Nashville, then they automatically get sent information or texted information, or how does that work?
Yeah. So basically, if we're using AI and automation through an app like that, and there are many, you can set the word to be anything. So I can go into the automation app and say, okay, I want them to, if they comment price, for them automatically to get a message through Instagram, and that gives them all of the information. And then you can also set it up to automate like a secondary message. Hey, was this what you thought it was going to be? Was it priced too high, too low? And then you're gathering information to make you a better realtor to respond appropriately versus just forget about them. But let's be real, in any business, no matter what you're doing, follow up is key. And a lot of people forget that step. They forget. They're like, oh, well, I guess they didn't want to do anything because they didn't contact me. People are busy. So sure, you're always going to have that person that's not going to respond. In fact, you might have 75% of the people or 90% of the people that don't respond. But let's be real, like that's just a numbers game. So just do this with more people. And if 10% of them are responding, you got a great little business going.
And what does your follow-up campaign look like? Do you have it systematized? Tell me a little bit about how you're doing that.
So I'm a little bit different than other people, and perhaps may never scale to the place that other people strive to, but that's not my goal.
Right.
I am at a place in my life where I am very much a people person. I'm driven by stories and by like literally getting to know somebody. So for me, I immediately, when I connect with somebody, I ask them what their communication style is.
Okay.
Because, somebody that's 70 years old is going to want a completely different communication style than somebody that's 25. Right. Yeah. And some people love text and some people love email, and some people like, one of my strengths, I think, because you should know your strengths and your weaknesses. But one of my strengths is really identifying early what makes somebody tick.
Okay.
Right? Is it funny memes, or is it being really, really serious and business minded? And so I typically play into that. But the follow-up strategy is not always the same. So we do have a thing called, we work with a project management system, which is actually fairly new to me in the last few months, called Monday. We switched over to it. And the reason I like Monday is because I have several businesses. So I can customize it where, I've got stuff going with my assistants over here for this business, and real estate's obviously one of them. So one of my team members, Malcolm Landenberger, puts an immediate transaction plan in place, which is often copy and paste, unless it's not, right? Unless we're like, oh, wait, this is a land thing, or the way we've got septic on this. And so, but in this day and age, if I've sent an email already, I should have a template for it. So we've been really good in the last year creating those templates and creating and making sure that we can work more efficiently.
Yeah, that makes all the difference. And the communication style is so important too, because I feel like sometimes people just paint a broad brush and say, well, I like to text, so I'm going to text them everything. And or email. A lot of people don't even read their email anymore.
No.
So you really asking that question up front is so simple, but so important.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had somebody the other day that said, I prefer text, but I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going back and forth between Paris. And I was like, oh, shit. I'm really going to have to be on this so that I'm not, my phone, we always got a phone within reach of us. And there's nothing worse than being in the middle of a sleep, especially if you like struggle to sleep and then all of a sudden your phone's dinging. So I've been really I acknowledge what they need. So she likes
Mm-hmm.
text, but she's in Paris. So often I will go,
Yeah.
okay, wait, it's 2 a.m. So I'll email her and say, I know you'd prefer text,
Yeah.
but I was worried that I was going to wake you up. Now, something as simple as that means they
Mm-hmm.
are heard.
Right.
So, this happened the other day and she messaged me and said, actually, I'm in Washington. I got last night, but thank you. Right?
Yeah.
Because because if I just sent her the email, she might go, what an idiot. I told her I like text.
Yeah.
So expectations are met when they're understood. Make sure that, I always say to my team, like, follow up. Like, if there's no update, that's the dang update.
Yeah.
Don't leave them hanging. If there are
Yeah.
no houses that have come up on their search in the last week that, fit the bill, tell them that.
Mm-hmm.
Communicate that to your clients to say, actually, there are no houses right now. I'm so sorry, but I have reached out to a few agents. Let them know you're working.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so with your team and you traveling so much, and having so many different projects, how do you kind of manage the team and keep the lines of communication open and really develop and empower your team to make decisions when you're not there?
Yeah, I mean, like it's easier said than done for
Mm-hmm.
sure. But also I'm not traveling as much as you think. So first and foremost, this particular show that I'm on called Life is Messy, is different in that though I'm shooting this first season for this particular show in Toronto, I'm here for a condensed period of time so that I can be home for 10 of the 12 months of the year, which is an awesome thing for me. But I am not the team leader that's going to require you to come in for your Monday and Thursday meetings every week. I'm just not. I would much prefer you meet we always have somebody on the team. In this particular case, all she does is shoot brand deals and content, which is huge now. So I'd much prefer, instead of meeting on Monday mornings or on Thursday mornings with me, you get to a house with her to shoot content, and then we can get on a FaceTime to talk as you're shooting content. So again, efficiency is key, because that works better for our team, and obviously branding and social media is super important. But through the years, I've always used a system that works for whichever team member. So Todoist has been a really big one for us. And assigning tasks via Todoist has been awesome. And also, I'm just kind of a bit of a crazy communicator. So like before this meeting, there was a text thread that was like, hey, happy Monday morning. Basically, everybody get to work. So I do find that sometimes that is my downfall, is that I'm not able to motivate in person as much as I'd like. But then when I am home, like right the month before, we all met every day in person.
Yeah.
So.
And so as a kind of celebrity agent, because you're well known, how do you handle that when buyers and sellers come to your team and say, well, no, I want Kortney. Like, I don't, how does that work? Because I'm sure you get that. They're expecting to meet with you.
Yeah, I get that on occasion. People have been really respectful. And I always say my time is not the best spent opening the doors.
Yeah.
So if you get me for a certain period of time, my time is better spent when you are down to 2 houses to have me come in and give you my expertise. Now, though, as realtors, we have to be really careful. Like I flipped over 150 houses, but I still really shouldn't be commenting on whether or not I think, the floors can be fixed. And it's a real fine line that I walk sometimes, to be able to say, this is what I think. Now I can, put you in touch with the professionals that can really tell you what to do. But people have been really respectful. I would say the harder thing for me has been to weed out the people that aren't really serious, right? They just want to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And that is for sure something I've had to navigate, especially in recent years. I did have a bit of a stalker situation, and it was tough, right? And you can Google anybody's name and number now and get to me, even if I use Google Voice. So
yeah. Oh, that's scary too. Because real estate can be, especially you've got other risks that a lot of real estate agents might not, although stalkers happen no matter whether you're,
Anywhere.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah.
But the Nashville Association of Realtors gave us all this app called
Hmm.
Forewarn,
Yep.
which has been really awesome,
Hmm.
because we can throw anybody's number in there, and if and it spits out some background, whether it's
Yeah.
liens or criminal activity, and I
Hmm.
think it's been really important for them to do that to protect us. And when there's no number, like when the number shows up nothing, like, oh, we don't, this was just
Yeah.
started a week ago, red flag.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
I always say,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so sorry. Have you used another number in the past? And all of a sudden
Hmm.
they disappear.
Hmm.
That's telling me something.
Yeah. Yeah. I have heard of the Forewarn app. A lot of people love it. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about your social media strategy, because you
Yeah.
you are very active on social media. What advice do you have for agents really wanting to boost their presence on social?
Yeah, sure. First of all, you just got to get started. Again, you can really overthink it. And the problem with overthinking it is by the time that you make a plan, the game's changed. Social media, algorithms, all of that changed constantly. So my biggest advice is just get on there. So you're not very good at it. Um, who cares? Sometimes that's endearing. When you get out there, there and say, listen, I really want to connect with more of you. And I'm adopting these like the social media stuff. And it's really hard for me. It's okay. That's relatable. People like that. I've actually watched it work for realtors versus me getting on a little bit more polished. You might skip over it sometimes. So sometimes you have just being real and raw is important. It doesn't have to be shiny and glamorous. Say oh my gosh, I was just at this house and I'm going Facebook Live. Comment if you want any information. And then you turn the camera around. All you needed was 15 seconds of bravery. And
Yeah.
now the camera's turned around the other way and you give a tour and you put some music to it. Bada
Hmm.
bing, bada boom, you're in the game.
Yeah.
So for sure, utilize video. If you're not utilizing video for yourself,
Hmm.
how do you expect your clients to market your property? How do
Yeah.
you expect them to have faith that you are on top of it?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And do you have, so you do have a content creator, you said, as a part of your
Yes.
team. And
Yes.
then, but you do your own just authentic social as well. So how do you choose what to do?
Yeah. Very different pieces to social media. Some of it is raw and in the moment, and you need that. You need that to connect with people. They know the difference. And then some of it needs to be formatted, right? I always say it doesn't have to look great, but if you really get into social media, figure out what your brand is first. Like, are you after first time homebuyers? Are you after the luxury market? Are you after everything within a certain zip code? There's no right or wrong answer to that. Just identify who you are selling and helping to, and that will help you with your content. Start following people who are doing it better than you in other places. I mean, Portugal, for example, I picked up some of his tools just by watching him. And then I think there needs to be a bit of a combination of rawness and polish, because when we are selling a house and we are doing reels, especially in certain price points, it needs to look more polished. So your clients, if they're going to go to you, by the way, they're not likely going to your website. I mean, some of the more major teams, for sure, in their searches, you might go to their website. But one of the first places we all go to is social media. So I used to spend so much more money on way more money on content to post on. I'm not going to a website. I'm going
Yeah.
to go right to social media and see what's going on their page, because that's where I want them to market my property.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about kind of looking back on your career. Is there one thing that you really kind of was your aha moment where you realized, okay, this is not where I want to be. I need to move it in a different direction. Or maybe it was a personal aha moment that you experienced.
Ooh, so many personal moments. We don't have time for that one. I would say I did not focus on referrals in the beginning, and I really regret that. I feel like I lost the last 4 years with a company that like it just didn't feel like it was set up to help me succeed in that way. Not that they weren't a great company. It's just that, you know, I have this platform to help people, you know, around the world, find the best of the best, partner with them, hear their stories. And that's really what makes me tick. And so really identifying what was, you know, what my strength was. I wish that I had identified that, you know, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And created a network to do more referrals. And so now it's never too late. I mean, I'm that's what my focus is now. And again, I still have a small team. I still am selling, and I still have major goals for the Nashville market, but I love connecting people with people. That's one of my strengths. And it's one of the things that I absolutely adore, whether it's like, hey, I need an HVAC person, or hey, I need a babysitter. That's the thing that makes me tick as a person. So why wasn't I using it for real estate, you know, 10 years ago? Probably time and just not being able to identify that.
Yeah. Finally, my last question is just tell me about I'm curious what show you're working on. What did you say? Life is Messy?
Yeah.
So what is that going to be?
Sure. Life is Messy was born. So I've had multiple shows, you know, between Meet the Wilsons and Masters of Flip and Making It Home. And it sort of evolved. And a few years ago, I ended up working with Drew and Jonathan Scott, the Property Brothers, who took over our show in Masters of Flip really late in, I think we went 4 seasons in that. I think they took over the last 2 seasons, and they've been amazing for me. Like, I love these guys. I think they're really good people. But basically I went to their team about 2 years ago after I stopped filming Making It Home, kind of waiting for renewal. And just like any business, you got to hustle. And TV was changing, and HGTV and home networks were like not picking up a lot of shows. And I was selling somebody's house, and she found me on social media, even though we were in the same community and knew multiple people. And she said, oh my goodness, I just went through a divorce like you did, and I've been watching your socials, and you're an inspiration to me. And I was like, hey girl, let's have lunch. You know, let's have coffee. When we had coffee, she said, you know, Court, I could never leave this house. I mean, look, I have so much stuff. I have so many memories. I don't even know how to let go. And I said, how about I help you let go 1 room at a time? And again, I love connecting with people. And so we started doing that. And within 6 months, we were listing her house. And she had let go of so many memories, and in the right way, right? Like took pictures of things that were important to her and then sold it. And then, so I was sitting with the producers or the developers one day, and I was like, life is so, you know, crazy, right? My life's been messy. I really want to make a show that's more relatable to people. So it actually has more of a real estate-esque thing, except it's not about necessarily selling your house. It's about, you know, the average person has like 300,000 items in their house. Can you believe that? We don't need 85% of it. We actually only use about 15% of the things. And so this show is I'm most excited about this show over any other show that I've ever worked on. It's very emotional. It is, you know, the director actually directed Intervention. We wanted somebody who had never really directed home television. We wanted this one to stand out. We wanted it to be real and raw and tell a story. I've cried multiple times. I'm on episode 4 right now, filming right now. We're actually doing 2 reveals this week. I'm rooting for them. I find myself, so basically we go in. Do I have another minute to tell you?
Yeah.
Okay. So we go into their house. My co-host Kenny Brain is awesome. And we go in and we, you know, look at all the things that are standing in the way of the function of the home. Because everybody, you know, we go in as realtors, when they are ready to sell, they tell us everything they're willing to do to the house now that they're ready to sell so that they can maximize their investment. But they didn't do it over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, right? So now somebody else is going to enjoy it. And we make them do it. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I kind of love my house now. We want them to do it on the front end. We want them to make memories and, you know, and for the house to have systems. So the family comes in, or the person comes in, we go through their story a little bit, and within an hour, like 20 people descend on their house and take everything out. And a couple of days later, we are in a massive storage center, a warehouse, and the professional organizers have organized everything in their house for them to see. So they walk in and they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wait, what? That's all kitchen? Wait, oh my gosh, those are the skates that we lost,
Yeah.
And then they have to edit it down. And the more they edit it down, the more we can do, the more systems we can bring to their home. It's like, I don't want to say light hoarders, but it's like we're all light hoarders in a way, right? We all like collect things just like over the years. And then we reveal their house to them within 10 days. So it's less about like taking beam downs. Like I said, when we were talking about doing the show, I was like, I don't want to talk about like electrical issues and freaking termites and big beams, right? I don't want to have a $200,000 renovation. I want to do something that's relatable, that somebody's inspired by. And that's what the show is. Life is messy. So I can't tell you which US network it will be on just yet. Okay. We haven't announced that, but it will be coming out I hope later this year.
Okay, great. Yeah, see, it kind of goes hand in hand with like seniors, working with seniors who are transitioning to a home, assisted living facility or something, and they don't really want to, and they don't want to get rid of their stuff. And it's kind of similar, different, but similar, because they're not.
Somebody said to me, it was actually, well, I won't say who it is because I don't want her to be, I don't want anybody to identify her, but she said to me, and she's working on the show, she goes, Kortney, I just went through this with my parents. And she goes, what's crazy is my parents are like alive and well and, youthful. But I realized if they pass, I have to go through this process. I'd rather they decide what's important to them so that they can, live a better life in this house. Everybody that is working on this show is like, oh my God, I wish I could be on the show. I am the anti-clutterer. I am the I love organization. In fact, I'm currently, with my Court & Co brand, trying to find a way to create a brand of organizational stuff. Because I think we are definitely lacking in that area when we, especially as we're doing the show. I'm like, wait, there's got to be something better than this. So, but I'm ridiculously excited about this show.
That's great. Well, Kortney, thanks so much for joining Real Trending. We really appreciate you sharing all of your expertise and your next move on TV. So that's exciting.
Tracey, thank you so much for having me. It's so great, to have these types of podcasts out there for people to, not just realtors, but for people to understand what we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.